He really gives substance very way that we can actually relate. And he had spoken, I was told by Varan Prabhu, that there's anarthas and how to deal with anarthas in the leadership. So this he had spoken at ISKCON Leadership Sangha, and we are very fortunate that he is with us. All these leaders, these are all the counselors here, Maharaj. So we are very happy that you are here, and we would like to welcome Maharaj. Thank you.
Om Ajnana-timirandhasyam Gyanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadatu Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksham Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Yantah Pradishya Mama Vachim Imam Prasuptam Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Darasvadamna Anyamscha Hasta Charana Sravanatva Gadim Pranannamo Bhagavate Purusaya Tubhyam. Hare Krishna. It's a great honor and privilege for me to speak in front of all of you. I feel myself completely undeserving. I was listening to the results of your group work and was very impressed. In fact, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and you probably solved some of my problems by telling this very important points about the duties of a counselor and the challenges which counselor meets in his service. So I'm not at all sure that I will be able to say something which is worthy, or which is, for you to listen, but still I'll try. But I need your blessings for this. Please bless me that I will be able to say something. It's within your interest. So please bless me. Thank you. So the topic I was asked to speak, I presented this topic in a certain way during ILS a couple of years back, and I will try to present it again in front of you. It's some of the considerations or some of the points of what does it mean to purify the heart, and how this purification of the heart can be expedited. What we are supposed to do, what is our duty to make our heart as pure as possible in the shortest possible time. So I will share with you a few considerations which I thought could be important for this topic. And I would like to start with the notion of automatic purification of the heart. Sometimes we know Srila Prabhupada would speak that if you chant the holy name, and if you associate with devotee, and if you follow the four regulative principles, then the purification will be automatic, that it will happen on its own, so to speak. I would like to say here that nothing, strictly speaking, is automatic on the path of bhakti. Srila Prabhupada, not without a reason, called our practice or our society for Krishna consciousness. A consciousness means nothing is automatic. Because automatic, usually people think that automatic means mechanical. That this is the process which we don't have to take conscious endeavors. That we don't have apply our consciousness, it will more or less happen on its own. But on the path of Krishna consciousness, nothing is happening without consciousness. You cannot just say that something is a mechanical result of some mechanical activity. There is no mechanical activity on the path of Krishna consciousness. So even when Srila Prabhupada says that this is the automatic process, he more or less says that this is a natural outcome of following the program of Krishna consciousness. But the very fact, the very program of Krishna consciousness is not automatic, it's not mechanical. To chant Hare Krishna, we know how much conscious endeavors we have to apply to do this properly, to avoid offenses, to associate with devotees. Can we say that we, can associate in a proper way with devotees without being fully conscious and fully aware? If we are not, then the chances of committing aparats are very great. We will just more or less use our acquired nature, conditioned nature, and by employing our conditioned nature and conditioned anarthas, we will commit offenses. So I wanted to start with this clarification that it's not an automatic process, the purification of the heart. It's a question, it's a matter of conscious endeavors. We have to be really clear that this is the goal of my endeavors, to purify my heart. And we have to be very much aware of what is the process it involves and what are the stages in this process. So this is the first point which I wanted to bring, that this is a conscious endeavors which we have to apply. And then next I would like to speak a little bit about the progression of anarthas and the nature of anarthas. You just mentioned some of the anarthas. Lethargy, Dvarakadish Prabhu said that sometimes we know and we even would like to, but this desire is theoretical. We're a little lethargic to help others. Or sometimes we micromanaging people's life or try to put ourselves in the center of their lives. It's also a manifestation of some anarthas. And as you probably know, but I think it would be interesting to think together about this, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave a very beautiful description which is called Anatomy of the Cloud of Anarthas. He made 16 categories of anarthas, and I would like to explain their inner connectivity, how they are connected with each other. This, I would like to explain the notion of progression of anarthas. He explained this in few places. One is Amnaya Sutra, one is Harinam Chintamani. Another place where he explains this is Bhajan Rahasya. It's his later works, and a very important works for us to understand. And specifically in Bhajana Rahasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that all other anarthas, usually when we speak about anarthas, what is the first thing which comes to our mind? What is the first list of anarthas which come to our mind from the scriptures? What is it? Yes, 6 anarthas, 6 ripus. Yeah, Shadripu. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. So in Bhajana Rahasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that these 6 ripus, 6 enemies within our heart, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya, and 6 waves, or 6, not 6 waves, 6 whips, 6 waves, because it was... Anyway, 6, urmi, waves. So 6 waves of material existence, that is the hunger, the thirst, the, death, disease. They're all coming, they're all steaming in these 16 categories of anarthas. The 16 categories of anarthas is the root, and everything else which we see in our heart and which we see in the hearts of other people, and which we encounter while living in this material world, is more or less manifestation of these 16 categories. Therefore, and now I will explain these 16 categories. And the important thing to understand while we are thinking about this or describing this is that anarthas, it's very difficult for me to say what I'm going to say, but I will say it anyway. Anarthas are not so bad in one sense. Why they are not so bad? Because they are very useful for our life in material world. In fact, anarthas is nothing else but our adjustment to the atmosphere of material world. The disease of the heart, there is no doubt about it. But we all know, and especially Vishwarup Prabhu, Madhavananda Prabhu, Giriraj Prabhu, all the doctors of Bhaktivedanta Hospital can confirm this, that sometimes disease, sometimes people take advantage of a disease. disease is not necessarily something people want to get rid of. Some people are clinched for the disease. Disease gives many advantages. You don't have to go to work if you're sick, right? Especially all the school children, they know sometimes we really want to have some little disease, not to go to school. The disease sometimes can give you the justification for something, for doing something. Sometimes, it's probably not in India, but in the West, if you have some disease, you can live very happily because the state will provide you all the necessities of life, and you don't have to do anything for this. So, what I want to say, while we're thinking about these anarthas, it's very important for us to understand that the problem of dealing with these anarthas is that we are attached to all these anarthas. Oftentimes, we do not even want to get rid of the anarthas because it's, this is how I can get rid of this, Take karma, people, they take special medicines to increase their karma. There are so many, the whole range of medicines, to make the karma stronger. It's not strong enough. I need to increase it to be completely happy in this material world. So, and is krodha useful? Is anger useful? Of course. Anger has so many useful applications in this world. And mada, pride, it's very useful. In a normal society, you cannot live without pride. If you are not increasing your pride, you will be nobody in the society. So, again, this is something which we have to be very realistic. If we are talking about anarthas, we have to understand that there is attachment to the anarthas, and this attachment is not without a reason. There is a reason to be attached to anarthas. Again, as I said, they are adjustments, nothing but adjustments to this material atmosphere we are living in. So, talking about these 16 categories of anarthas, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur so beautifully describes, he says he divides them in 4 broad categories, and then in each broad category he gives 4 subcategories. So 4 multiplied by 4, it's 16. So he says that the 4 broad categories is Tattva Vibram, then Asat Trishna. Tattva Vibram means the bewilderment about Tattva, about the truth. Asat Trishna means the thirst for Asat, for unreal. The very intense desire for something unreal. And then the 3rd category is Aparad, offenses. And the 4th category, the crown jewel of all the anarthas, is Hriddaurbalyam, the weaknesses of the heart. So, and then he divides on this 4 subcategories, each of this broad category, and then we will see a very interesting connection between these 4 broad categories, how they are connected with each other. Because the order is also very important. So the first, the most subtle anarthas, the root cause of all anarthas, the root of the tree of material existence. Here, Radha Gopinath Prabhu just depicted a tree of spiritual service. But the tree of material existence is not different, so there is a root there. And the root of this tree is Tattva Vibram, and Tattva Vibram means bewilderment or more or less, confusion about the truth. And that's basically the very root cause of our material existence, that we don't know the truth. And he basically says, he gives a very interesting and very important for our further description the anatomy of this Tattva Vibram. He says there are 4 categories: that Svatattva Vibram, bewilderment or inability to understand who am I, inability to understand our spiritual nature. Then the next one is Paratattva Vibram. Please take note of this, because I will ask you later. Please at least remember these 4 categories of Tattva Vibram. So first is Svatattva Vibram. The second is Paratattva Vibram, the bewilderment or misunderstanding about Paratattva, the nature of God, the nature of Bhagavan, the nature of the goal of our destination. And then he says Sadhya Sadhana Vibram, the bewilderment or misunderstanding of what are the means and what is the goal. So roughly we can, anyway, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, this design is also there, you can see it. Svatattva Vibram, Paratattva Vibram, Sadhya Sadhana Vibram. And what is the 4th one? It's very important. What is the 4th one? What is the 4th Vibram or mistake or misunderstanding? Does anyone remember? Virodhi Vishaya, yes. What is Virodhi Vishaya? Virodhi Vishaya means something which is opposite. Basically, this is the impediment on our path. If Svatattva Vibram, Paratattva Vibram is understanding who we are and who is God, Sadhya Sadhana is understanding of how to reach Him, the Virodhi Vishaya is misunderstanding or bewilderment about the impediments on this path. What are the pitfalls? What are the problems on this path? So this is the Vibram, the description of our misunderstanding. And then, and because we don't understand who we are, because we don't understand what is the goal, because we don't understand who is God, then naturally the next category of anarthas develops. So what is the next category of anartha? Yeah, Asat Trishna. Because you don't know that you are Sat. You don't know that God is Sat. You don't know that the relationship which connects you with God is also Sat, eternal. Then naturally you will develop what? Thirst for impermanent. You will develop in your heart thirst for impermanent, not eternal kinds of happiness. And it's very simple. This thirst for Asat Trishna, it's thirst for material happiness, thirst for in this world, thirst for happiness in the next world. It's heavenly pleasures. It's a thirst for mystic yoga, and it's a thirst for liberation. It's basically, all the path are here of this material world, the path of, karma and the path of impious activities, thirst for happiness in this material world, path for pious karma, path of pious karma, Vedic karma, which brings you to heaven, mystic yoga, which brings you yoga siddhi, and ultimately jnana yoga, which is bringing you liberation. So that's Asat Trishna. You become very thirsty or very eager to get these things which are not really congruent, not really related to your eternal nature, contrary to your eternal nature, and therefore this connection is very clear. You don't understand who you are, then you will more or less develop wrong desires, which is coming or stemming from misunderstanding of who you are and what you are doing here. So you basically will want to achieve material happiness. And then the next category, what is the next category? Aparad, yes. And aparad means offenses. And again, aparad is when you want to achieve all this impermanent happiness, asat trishna. If you want to achieve this, there will be somebody or some people who will, or somebody in this world who will be viewed as the impediment to achieve this sort of goals. And aparad is basically, if you want to achieve something and somebody is trying to stop you from achieving this, then what you will do towards these people or towards those who are trying to stop you from this, you will offend them. You will apply your anger to them to kind of remove them from your path. So what constitutes the impediments for our material happiness? Who are the culprits who deprive us from our desire to achieve material happiness? It's Krishna, right? Is he not? Yes. Yes, he is there. It's Krishna's holy name. It's definitely a great impediment for material happiness, in one sense. It's Krishna's devotees, right? And the other living entities, they also sometimes, serve as impediments. So the third category is just, again, natural outcome of our desire to achieve impermanent happiness. You will offend the holy name, you will offend the Svarup of God, you will offend the devotees, and you will offend the other living entities. Because, again, this thirst for material happiness creates mentality, deficit mentality. Or what is the proper word for this? Scarcity mentality, yes, thank you. Will create some scarcity mentality. There is not enough resources for my happiness, and therefore you will try to remove all the impediments from your path. And of course, devotees, sometimes we can see that people consciously, that especially the neophyte devotees, when they kind of have second thought, what am I doing? Am I in my right mind to take this path which will actually deprive me from my material happiness? They'll start consciously offending the devotees. We know when we start spiritual practice, then the thirst for impermanent becomes less. Somebody noticed it? Your desires becomes less. You're not so much into this material happiness. So, but when some people feel that this is happening and then become afraid, somebody told me the story that one disciple of Prabhupada, he was in this category and he decided that no, I don't want to follow this path. But somehow or other it was already a little too late. And, he wanted to go back to the material world, to the material happiness, but it just didn't work. There was no juice. Ras was not there. He was trying hard. And he thought, let me offend the devotees. That will bring me the notion of material happiness back into my heart. And he started doing this, but somehow or other, he always would meet with the devotees, and the devotees would somehow or other harass him. Not really harass in a literal sense of the word, but he would always meet with them and always meet the holy name and always meet Prabhupada's books. So he was, by all means, he was trying to, get rid of these memories of devotional service. So the story goes like this, that he decided to go to Alaska, the most remote state of United States. He was thinking that there I will be totally free from association of devotees. So he flew there, and he went down from the plane and was in the airport. So the first person whom he met in the airport was a devotee who was offering him a book. Said, would you like this book? He became really, really angry. So he went to the hotel, he turned off, and he thought, okay, now I'm totally free, nobody is chasing after me and nobody is harassing me. So he wanted to relax. He turned on the TV, and the first thing which he saw on TV, there was a Harinam party going, chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Anyway, so what I want to say is that sometimes, it's even a conscious policy, conscious strategy to get rid of the of devotional service, to reinstate the thirst for impermanent within the heart. And in this case, people conveniently apply these apparats, which will again awaken the desires for impermanent, useless happiness in the heart. So, and then the last category, what is the last category of these anarthas? Hridda Urbalyam, yes. The weakness of the heart. And there are also 4 categories there, also very tightly and logically connected with each other. So the first is, what is the first one? Tucha Sakti, right? Attachment to tucha, to something really insignificant. Tucha Sakti. It's basically, please remember now what I said, that anarthas are nothing but our adjustments to this material world. When we live in this material world, we develop thousands and even millions of these little, tiny, stupid attachments. We are attached to so many stupid things, because this is what material life is all about. Sometimes people think that attachments means, when you're a little child, you're attached to your dolls, and you're attached to your, if you take this doll from a child, he will cry. So, but it's not only the attachment to the stupid things. I would say that more important in this category of Tucha Sakti is the attachments to the negative things. Sometimes we think that attachment is only attachment to something which brings you pleasure. No. In reality, we have much more attachments to something which, negative attachments, so to speak. We're all offended, right? And sometimes people, they carry these grudges within the heart for so long. Are they attached to the grudge? You tell people you should forgive, and they say, no, I cannot forgive. I can't forgive. Why? Because they're too attached to all these pains of the past. Sometimes people, they carry it for years and, throughout the whole life. They're so attached to these enemies, this notion of enemies. He's my enemy. He inflicted this pain to me, that pain to me. So this is all tuchha sakti. We have to be very clear how many attachments we have. And they're all trivial attachments, really petty attachments, useless attachments. Useless. Most of them are useless, but still, as I said, it's a device to live in the material world. And then after that, if you have these attachments, then what happened? If you have these attachments, then you develop kutinati. Kutinati means fault finding. You will, anyway, let's not get too much into it, but basically you can very clearly understand how it's all very much tightly connected. Kutinati means you're trying to find faults in some other people, and you spit back, you speak bad about them behind their back, and this and that, and therefore you're making politics and you're duplicitous. Kutinati means duplicity. It basically means you're smiling at the face of somebody, and then, when he turns his back, you'll speak what you really think about him. And then after this, matsarya, you basically, kutinati means you bringing people down. And if somebody is matsarya, matsarati iti matsarya. If somebody is ahead of us in any sphere of material existence, then matsarya develops. The envy that somebody is ahead of me, because we always want to be the first. I heard a joke that God, before sending a living entity in this material world, he chants a very sacred mantra into his ear. And for the whole life we're remembering this mantra. Do you know what is this mantra? It's not Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The mantra which God chants into our ear is that you're the best. You're the best. So matsarya basically is this envy which naturally awakens in our heart when we see that somebody supersedes us, that somebody is better than us in any sphere of activity. We feel, especially in something to which we are attached, to our understanding of who we are. If somebody is better than us, then matsarya is there, the envy is there in the heart. And swapratishtata is the last category. The pride of one's own achievements, or pride. So, as I said, listen, I will go now to the next point, how to get rid of the anarthas. But before I say this and explain my understanding of what is the quickest and most conscious and pointed out way of achieving this goal of anartha nivriti, or even higher, before I say this, I would like to repeat the same thing again, is that it's very difficult for us to get rid of the anarthas because they bring some advantages to our life. And unless we are extremely clear that we are attached for anarthas, this is one of the categories, the attachment for the anarthas, it will be difficult for us to consciously work on this. So the next point, which after describing this cloud of anarthas, the problem of material life, because kutinati, hridaur balyam, weaknesses of the heart, is nothing but the description of a conditioned state of affairs, conditioned state of our heart. they're all there to a certain extent. So we all know the process, the general process. And the general process is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ado Shraddha tatah sadhu sangha tatah bhajana kriya anartha nivriti syat. I was thinking that it's very interesting because Srila Rupa Goswami says anartha nivriti syat. And syat, I believe, Hindi word shayat is coming from the Sanskrit word syat. Syat means is, it's there, but syat has a shade of a meaning, may be. So specifically, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Shraddha is there, then Sadhu Sangha is there, that Bhajana Kriya is there, and then may be anartha nivriti. It may be, may not be, So it's a difficult process. Shraddha is easy process, very blissful process, and Sadhu Sangha is in the beginning very blissful. It may not be so blissful at the end, in a certain point. But, anartha nivriti is a difficult process. Therefore, syat is there, maybe. It's actually the crucial point. If you reach out this anartha nivriti, then after that it's kind of easy. It becomes, it's like you're climbing over the hill, and anartha nivriti is this, the peak of the hill. And after that you just go down, and it's easy. But the climbing is a little difficult. So after that it's a very natural process. Before that it's also a natural process. Bhakti is always natural process, but because we have double nature. It's natural from the point of view of spiritual nature we have, and it's totally unnatural from the point of view of material nature, which we also have. So we have to go against our material nature, therefore it's difficult. The fighting is there. And Nishta is the peak actually. When we complete our anartha nivriti and reach Nishta, then this is the peak. And after that, practically material nature is not prominent anymore. It's there up to the stage of prema. It's still there. Still some influence will be there, but it's insignificant. So basically Nishta is the point where two forces, the spiritual force and material force, are more or less on the same level. It's more or less the balance point. Therefore it's called Nishta. In the beginning, the material force is very strong. And therefore, to go against the grain of material tendencies is difficult. Nishta is a balance point, and after that, the spiritual nature becomes more prominent and more important in our heart. So, what I want to say next, how much time do I have? Is it? Oh yeah, okay. I will definitely finish way before that. It's not much of what I wanted to say. So, what I want to offer to you now is the way to look into this bhakti ladder. Usually, when we look in the bhakti ladder, starting with Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, and Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhav, we kind of look at it as intermediate goals. We all know the definition of Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where he says sadhana is the systematic activity which we perform in devotional service, which we perform with the goal of achieving bhav. Bhav actually is the intermediate stage according to the classification of Rupa Goswami, where the bhav basically means when the love of God becomes our nature. The bhav comes when we acquire sthayi bhav, and sthayi bhav means permanent mood. And when the love of Godhead becomes, love of Krishna becomes our permanent mood, and that's bhav. That's the stage of bhav. And before that, it's different stages of practice, and sometimes different acharyas, they classify it in more minutely. Like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives 14 stages instead of 9 stages in this ladder. So it's usually we say it's intermediate goals. Prabhupada makes a very interesting notion which is important for us in his purport in Bhagavad Gita to the verse 10:10. The famous verse, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajati priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamopayanti te. He says that we have to understand very clearly that the goal is Krishna. That has to be very clear. The ultimate goal has to be very clear. And then when the ultimate goal is clear, then we have to see the whole path, how it will be progressively traversed. In other words, Prabhupada makes a very important point. He says that we will be able to achieve the ultimate goal if we know the whole path and all the intermediate goals. So, my first thing is, which I want to say, which may also sound a little heretical, a little unusual for us, is that even though from the very beginning we should be very clear that the goal is Krishna and we have to achieve Him, sometimes this ultimate goal, especially when we are in the very beginning stages of our devotional service, this ultimate goal is not very inspiring to us. It probably is not, it's not about you, but I've seen other people. It's too far. It's too idealistic, Krishna may be there, but I'm here. What am I supposed to do? So, what I want to say for understanding of how to apply the emphasis in different stages of our devotional service, we have to be very clear about the intermediate goals, which will be the most inspiring for us according to our stage of spiritual development. Ultimate goal is there. We should not try to minimize it or whatever, but see, you may, if you have 10 rupees in your pocket, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees in your pocket. Inflation is there, so, or maybe 10,000 rupees in your pocket, and you want to, to buy the BMW, the latest, and this is your goal. Sometimes people, all these motivational speakers, they say you imagine your goal and you will achieve it. Hare Krishna, you may achieve it, you may not achieve it. What I want to say is that if you only have 1,000 rupees in your pocket, then BMW as a goal of all your endeavors may not be relevant at this stage of your life. This goal may be relevant on a little later stage when you have little more in your pocket. So therefore, in my humble opinion, we have to be very clear what are the goals which we should emphasize on the different stages of spiritual development. Like we are dealing with the counselees. And, I've seen that if in the very beginning you emphasize too much, of course, I'm sure you're not doing this, but sometimes it's being done, unfortunately. Emphasize too much all these rasas with Krishna, then the people, what do? They're too far away from this goal, but they want to achieve, and the counselor or whoever is teacher, the spiritual master, he is always saying, we have to come to Krishna, we have to come to the spiritual world, rasa is our goal. Then what people do? They just imagine that they're already there. It's called sahajiya. You're still very much down here, and somebody is always speaking, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal. I've seen how people just becomes 100% sahajiyas. Yeah, oh Krishna, oh Radha, oh. You can see it's just pretense. Total pretense. Why? Because the goal is not, the emphasis is not correct. This is the goal, no doubt about it. But the emphasis, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in the beginning stages of our material of our spiritual development, our goal should be what? Do you know what? He says purification of the heart. More or less, he says that the goal is freedom from anarthas. And this is the goal you can relate with very easily. And I want to give you a very interesting way of looking into this ladder, so that the emphasis can be more clearly defined. Are you not tired? Am I not? Shall I close my session? You are still with me, right? Okay. So the first to understand this, how to see, how to view this ladder of bhakti from the point of view which I suggest you to look at it. There may be different points of view. It's relative in a sense. So it's just one way of looking at this. I want to bring